Thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Maya. I'm an organizer with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Today, we're going to be covering some topics included in the monthly materials we sent out to our PAN members. So definitely make sure you're checking those materials out, talking to your communities about it. And if you know anyone that may be interested in learning more, make sure to invite them to this webinar or send them to pslweb.org/action so they can get access to the monthly political education materials as well. But let's get into it. So after Congress handed over an additional $70 billion to the Department of Homeland Security and ICE in June, which tripled their previous budgets, the Supreme Court terminated temporary protected status for 350,000 Haitians and 6,000 Syrians. But what is TPS, right? So TPS designation provides the ability for immigrants to remain in the United States if their home countries are experiencing armed conflict or environmental disasters or other conditions that may be temporarily preventing the country's nationals from returning safely. So 17 countries have TPS designation, but the Trump administration has worked to end that status for 13 of them. So 13 out of 17, which ended protections for 1.3 million people. Countries under TPS designation, such as Afghanistan or Somalia or Nicaragua, commonly experience violent destabilization, theft, and occupation at the hands of US imperialism. So when the Haitian people achieved what was thought to be impossible and freed themselves from chattel slavery in 1804, it was the French who demanded reparations from the Haitians, as they considered them to be lost property. So it was Haitian people who dared to free themselves from chattel slavery, and then it was the French who thought that they were the ones who deserved reparations. And then a century later, American banks bought that debt. Then the United States invaded and occupied Haiti in 1915 to ensure those banks got paid. So from brutal military occupation to propping up the murderous Duvalier dictatorships to crushing Haiti's agricultural economy to actively overthrowing Haiti's democratically elected leaders, the United States government has engineered the very conditions that forced many Haitians to flee their homeland. And now the United States ruling class is pretending this history of violent imperialism in Haiti does not exist, as they rip away TPS from hundreds of thousands of Haitians, many of whom have lived, have worked, have built family here for years. So thank you all again for joining us and for inviting your friends to join us for this important discussion about the history of U.S. intervention in Haiti, to talk about the potentially devastating effects of TPS's termination on critical sectors of the workforce and what we can do to protect our communities from the Trump administration's racist agenda. So with that, I'm going to introduce Kirby Joseph, who is a longtime community organizer and a co-coordinator of Caribbean Defense, to share some context of the history of the Haitian Revolution, of U.S. intervention in Haiti, and of the current political moment after TPS's expiration. We'll also have a short Q&A session, so please drop your questions using the Q&A feature. Let us know where you're joining us from. But without further ado, thank you, Kirby.
Hi, everyone. So happy to have folks here. Also, shout out to everyone in all the cities that people are representing right now. I appreciate that. Thank you for taking time out of your Wednesday night to talk about this very important issue. Like Meha just said, my name is Kirby Joseph. I am Haitian, born, raised, and still live in Brooklyn. So shout out if there's any Brooklyn Haitians here, or any Haitians here. But as was said in that video, Haitians are internationalists. So all of you are Haitian tonight and always, as long as you believe in the struggle. I want to have a show a video. And the reason why is because there's a lot of stereotypes when it comes to Haiti. And we're going to talk about that a little bit in terms of how Haiti has been viewed for over 200 years. And it's not just now. It's always been a propaganda campaign that made the nation of Haiti look like savages, that made the revolution look as if something that should not have never existed. And depending on who you're talking to, they'll say that the Haitian Revolution was a fluke, but we know that that is not the case. The revolutionaries that we look up to, that we love, that we read about, that we study about, have studied the Haitian Revolution, have studied how imperialism has destabilized Haiti. And we have to understand that what has happened with TPS is not because of an earthquake that happened in 2010, is not because of what has even happened in contemporary history. This has been a campaign against a nation that dared to free itself and dared to win. This has been a campaign of destabilization by the hands of the United States and other imperialist powers since 1804. Well, since August 1791, in my opinion, the original Black August event when the Haitian Revolution started during the Wakaima ceremony. But we want to show this video because there's a misconception about Haitians, that Haitians cannot govern themselves, that Haitians don't have an analysis, that Haitians don't know what they want, could never free themselves, that Haitians put themselves in this position, in this predicament, even though we know otherwise. And so what we want to do, if we go to the next slide, is play a video that shows Haitians on the ground in Haiti just a few years ago, that paints a clear picture about what Haitians want, what Haitians deserve, and most importantly, what Haitians know they need to be free.
We're here on the 34th anniversary of the Haitian Constitution. Thousands of people, ultimately it will be tens of thousands of people, are gathering here and marching to demand the end to the Jovenel Moïse regime. This march is called today because Jovenel Moïse, this former president, now dictator, has overstayed his constitutional mandate and continues to violate any form of the rule of law and any form of democracy here in Haiti.
Nous gardons pas aucune institution dans le pays à cap marché. L'église par Jovenel, l'université par Avel, le vaudouisant par Avel, et secteur, et tout secteur dans la vie nationale a dit non, il ne pas reconnaître lui comme président. Jovenel Moïse, mandat fini, il faut le reconnaître ça. Moïse
has been hanging on to power through brute force, attacking protesters and journalists, jailing his political opponents, and dissolving the country's legislature. Throughout the protest, participants had a clear analysis of what gave Moïse the confidence to act with such wanton thuggery.
Malgré le mandat Jovenel fini depuis 7 février 2021, organisation et puissance impérialiste ont décidé qu'un bel sous pouvoir. Ils ont décidé qu'un bel sous pouvoir pour capable défendre l'intérêt.
An analysis that led to U.S. elites also being a major target of the demonstrators' grievances, along with Moïse.
Abattu Biden impérialiste! Abattu Biden impérialiste! Abattu Biden impérialiste! Nous dans la rue aujourd'hui pour nous dire à bas dictature, à bas OEA, à bas ONU, à bas également administration américaine. Parce que situation de crise sans pareil n'a vivre aujourd'hui en Haïti. Véritable artisan crise là, c'est moun sa homme sur cité là. À bas impérialiste, vive l'État socialiste.
Mais démonstration ça est important pour nous parce que constitution journée aujourd'hui c'est pas un cadeau impérialiste là, c'est pas un cadeau dictature du valier c'est lutte peuple là qui était bataille contre impérialistes américains surtout, contre bourgeoisie reste avec Haïti, en même temps contre l'église hiérarchie, l'église catholique. Donc c'est un résultat bataille lutte populaire. C'est peut-être ça je dis impérialistes américains avec Biden dans tête je dis pour écraser constitution parce que c'est constitution peuple allié.
Go back before we go there. Does that sound, and please drop in the chat, does that sound like a group of people that don't know what they need? Does that sound like a group of people that don't understand self-determination? Does that sound like people who don't have revolutionary optimism? Does that sound like people who don't know who their targets are, that don't know who their enemies are? They understand very well who their enemies are, and it's the same people that we organize against here. But this is the side of Haiti, this is the movement of Haiti that we don't see, and that's by design. And we're going to talk about that a little more. Next slide, please. Can we give some claps in the chat for our tech support that is happening here and our amazing chair? I'm only going to be here for a few minutes, so let's clap it up for our folks who've been doing this work. Appreciate y'all. Okay, Now, we spoke about TPS before. Thank you, Miha, for doing that. But we're just going to take a little closer dive into that. So, TPS, or temporary protected status, was a program that was created by Congress in 1990. Okay. So, there have been Haitians who came to the United States through TPS since 1990. So, we're talking about people who have been here for 30 plus years who now are trying to figure out what their livelihood is. Okay. Something I do want to uplift that's also here is that it is an immigration status given to nationals to provide a work permit and protection from deportation. This is what does not exist anymore. We're going to go more into that. We're going to go into ICE surges as well a little bit. But what I want to uplift is that everybody who is on TPS would have a work visa, well, a work permit, excuse me. That's a different type of immigration document, and would also pay taxes. I want to uplift that. We're going to talk about the media and what is being said, but one of the big parts of this is criminalizing TPS holders, right? But TPS holders, all of them do not have any criminal records, whether back home or in the United States, were workers on work permits that were active up until they weren't. We're paying taxes, and I want to uplift that the TPS community has, since 1990, has contributed $262 billion to the US economy. Okay. And Jade, I see you just popping in. Yes, folks are paying taxes and do not have permanent residency status or a pathway to citizenship. So you're working, you're paying taxes, your children are born here, you are building society, building our communities, and yet TPS does not provide a pathway towards permanent residency or citizenship. No, it did not. Once revoked, anyone who had TPS status becomes undocumented and is subject to quote unquote removal. Okay. On Thursday, June 25th, 2026, now I do want to uplift that this was an active campaign against TPS, but particularly against Haitians. I want to uplift this. This was a targeted attack, targeted xenophobic, racist, anti-Haitian attack. This was the Trump administration's tactic to escalate this case to the Supreme Court to get this ruling of 6.3 from 6 versus 3 to overturn all lower court orders. So what do I mean by that? Lower courts have been working. The Trump administration at different moments would try to push the end to TPS, and all lower courts, so state courts, would block it. Absolutely not. This is illegal. Absolutely not. This is illegal. Right? And so it wasn't moving in the way that the Trump administration wanted. This attack wasn't happening in the way that they wanted. And so they escalated all the way to the Supreme Court. It went to a vote where the Supreme Court actually had the audacity to say that they had no right to even look over a case of this magnitude, even though they're Supreme Court, and even cited saying that there's no racism in this case. There's no discrimination in this case. None at all. Okay. As a result of this ruling, hundreds of thousands of people are now facing deportation. The Supreme Court has provided a clear pathway to eliminate the TPS program for hundreds of thousands of people. Again, it's 1.3 million people who have TPS across 17 nations. But right now, this attack that has happened is particularly targeted on 350,000 Haitians and 6,000 Syrians. And when we're talking about 350,000 Haitians, we are talking about folks who are in education, whether they're paras or teachers. We're talking about folks who are in the medical field, whether they're nurses, CNAs, or elder care workers. We're talking about Haitians who have cultivated small businesses. We're talking about folks who are agricultural workers. We're talking about folks who are janitors, who are builders, who are construction workers, who now are targets for ICE violence and deportation. Next slide. There's also some misinformation. So there's some things that I want to make sure that is uplifted here based on what we've been hearing on the ground, interactions that I've had with different Haitian families, and interactions that I had with other folks in other cities who requested support to answer some of these questions. Children who are born within the United States are U.S. citizens. There are a lot of TPS holders who are worried that their own children would be deported in some type of way. So they do not lose their citizenship status, even if a parent or their guardian does. If folks have no other work authorization, their work authorization document will expire. So we're talking about 350,000 EADs that have expired if that person doesn't have any other legal status. If someone has no work authorization, their employer may stop employing them once their TPS authorization expires. Okay. But as long as a TPS holder works at their place of work, they must get paid. The reason why I'm saying this is because there has been some foolery that has been going on in workplaces where former TPS holders are still being allowed to work, but are not being paid for their work. Okay. So when we talk about TPS being a struggle for all people, we're talking about TPS being a worker struggle. These are our coworkers that are experiencing this. Okay. For individuals of other countries who currently have TPS, this is not for those folks. Again, is very specific to Haitians and Syrians as of what happened on June 25th. Now, folks are not, yes, modern day slavery. We're going to get to some of that too, because there's some physical modern slavery that's taking place out here as well. Folks are not required to discharge their immigration status, but because employers have to verify through I-9 purposes, they may ask for certain documents. It is very important that people get proper legal advice. I'm going to talk about this more because, again, we're going to be talking about exploitation on all levels because of panic and desperation because of this attack. Next slide. Now, there's another part of this. And the other part is, what does this look like if somebody loses their legal status within the United States? And part of this is 287G. And raise your hand if you heard about 287G. So 287G is a program that allows state and local agencies to act as immigration enforcement agents. This is happening across 40 states in the United States. So what am I saying? The police in your city, in your state, can act as ICE agents against our community members, our neighbors, our coworkers, our fellow students and comrades. Once deputized, police have the power to interrogate people they quote unquote suspect, maybe here without status. Oh yes, it is legal. As long as this is in motion in that state, it is legal, yes. And may make arrests on suspicions of quote unquote civil immigration violations without a warrant from a judge nor ICE agents present. We already know how police are already using their reasonable doubt, reasonable suspicion to already administer state violence on our communities. Now, this is another layer. Okay. I'm in New York City. New York City does not have 287G, but just so folks know where it's at, the 10 states that don't have it or are not explicitly working as law enforcement participating in this are California, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, New Jersey, New Mexico, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington. Okay? Those are the only 10 states that are not participating in this or do not have this policy within the state legislation. The highest concentrations of states that are doing this right now are Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania. Not people like, of course, my state. People like, of course, my state. Um, Missouri, Arkansas, and excuse me, y'all, if I can't see all your questions. Tennessee, Oklahoma, Georgia, Alabama, and Louisiana. So just again, New York City is its own little thing, is not participating in 287G, but parts of New York are. And New York is a big state in its own. Next slide. Wait, go back. Sorry. Something I wanted to uplift. People asked if this was legal. The ICE agents, this is going to be really sick, so brace yourself. And I also apologize for any trigger warnings, y'all, for anything that we hear. ICE agents are legally allowed to imitate police officers to get into people's homes. I'm going to repeat that again. ICE agents are legally allowed and trained to impersonate police officers to get folks that they suspect are undocumented or illegal to open their doors. Okay? So this is why a lot of the ICE out work that folks are doing can feel similar to just doing stuff about state violence altogether because of how they intersect. Okay? So I just wanted to uplift that. Next slide, please. Okay. I want to ask y'all a question. And Miha, is it possible for you to read some of the answers too?
Absolutely.
Okay. We're giving you all this information today. The PSO Action Network is presenting this webinar. Y'all are here taking down this information. But I guess on a larger level, why should everyone care about what's happening to Haitians and other TPS holders? Let's get some answers in the chat. Why should you care about what's happening to Haitians and other TPS holders?
I see Jameson saying because they're humans, and that's literally it. Stephanie saying, come for one, come for all. Yep. I see a lot of people resonating this. Basic humanity. An attack on one worker is an attack on all workers. Absolutely.
Let's get one more.
There are comrades, for sure.
Yes. Okay. This struggle impacts all of us, and it already is impacting. It happens to us, it's happening to them in different ways. Right? So I appreciate y'all. But I just want to, there's going to be little questions in there where I'm going to ask y'all. I got to be ready. Jump up with me. Okay? All right. Next slide. Now, again, there's one point, we don't have to play this video for the sake of time. Just want to give some more context. There's 1.3 million TPS holders that call the United States their home. But there are 330 to 350,000 Haitians with significant populations in New York City, Miami, Massachusetts, and New Jersey. But let's not forget Boston, Philly, Chicago, Orlando, okay, Atlanta, Houston, Vermont. So Haitians have made different places home wherever there's community, okay? And we're talking about a substantial amount of people who are now completely not just destabilized in their home, because what's being said is that, well, they should feel free to go back home. But something I want to uplift to you, the same government, the same system, right, that wants to deport 350,000 people, destabilize their home, and don't even want you to go to Haiti. They have called Haiti unsafe because of the violence that they have exercised on the nation. And yet, they're telling Haitians to go back to those conditions. Okay? So we always got to keep that in mind. It's not about a moment in history. It's about the whole history, the whole story. Exactly. Go ahead. Next slide, please. Now, yes. So this video, this is Jemima Pierre. Jemima Pierre is a leader within the Black Alliance for Peace. And again, we're talking about the whole history. So we're going to listen to 2 minutes of her giving a rundown about what's been happening in Haiti and how we got here. And who's at play?
Yeah. So how did Haiti survive? Also, its economy. How did 200 years? What did Haitians live off?
Right.
And how did trade work?
Yeah, but the suppression is also the suppression of its economy. I mean, if one of the key things that emerges from the WikiLeaks papers is that down to Barack Obama, the whole point was to suppress Haitian wages. And so in the WikiLeaks papers, it tells Obama was going in there and saying, you cannot raise minimum wage to $5 a day. You have to keep it at $2 a day. Haiti has the lowest minimum wage in the Caribbean, in the region. And so there's so many ways that this happened. And so, there are a lot of things that happened from the very beginning. Michel Rolfe-Trouillot, who's a Haitian anthropology, who's deceased now, says that Haiti is the longest neo-colonial experiment in the history of the modern world. And that's how you have to understand it, because there's been a process. For example, when France demanded this payment in order to be left alone and to be recognized, Haitians did not even finish paying that till 1947. So imagine paying something from 1825 to 1947 and having to take out loans from France in order to pay France back, right? So there's that. The U.S. Then when it did its Monroe Doctrine and wanted to fully take control of the region, it was upset the fact that France and Germany were actually having inroads into the banking and industry, actually, in Haiti. And my partner's book called Bankers and Empire, How Wall Street Colonized the Caribbean, actually goes really into detail about how it is that the U.S. are able to push France and Germany out of the region to take over. And so the U.S. invaded Haiti in 1915, sent the Marines, and took Haiti's gold, sent it to New York, and then sent the U.S. Marines and occupied Haiti from 1915 to 1934. And it said it was going there because there was upheaval, there had been an assassination, and it said it was there to protect its interests. And it went in there and took over Haiti's economic system, entire infrastructure, and political system. One key thing is that the Haitian Constitution of 1805, which is our radical constitution, had a thing in there, like a clause in there that says no white man shall come back to this land as owner, as land or person owner, as owner or boss. And it says that. The first thing the U.S. government did when it invaded and started occupying Haiti was change Haiti's constitution. In fact, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, bragged that he rewrote it himself. And so that tells you everything. So they're able to control the entire economy. In fact, Haiti's money was being printed in New York throughout the entire occupation. And so this is the first major occupation, which goes through.
Very important to uplift that this was by design. When Haiti freed itself from the shackles of slavery, it was the first nation to do so, from slavery to liberation. For folks who study Marx, we know that there's a different process that he explained. When Haiti freed itself, there's also something else to uplift. There were no allies. We're talking about 1804. There was no Cuba. There was no Venezuela. There was no Chinese Revolution. There was no pink tide. And slavery in the United States was still prosperous. The Civil War had not happened yet. The American Revolution just ended, I would say 20 or plus years before. And there were no allies. Haiti was building, organizing, and liberating itself on its own. Okay. And I want to uplift that because that shook the world. There was no other historical moment like the Haitian Revolution. And what it did was strike fear into the hearts of all ruling class powers all over the world. Okay. And when Haiti freed itself, and depending on which Dominican you talk to, there's two different Independence Days. There's the right one and there's the wrong one. I'm not gonna go there. That's a different workshop. But that revolution, that moment, Haiti had a restoration period where both sides of the island lived together and worked together. That was only about 20 years. And so the Haitian Revolution was cut at the knees pretty early on. In fact, Frederick Douglass was actually the ambassador to Haiti from the United States, believe it or not. One of the most well-known abolitionists in the world, the most famous Black man of that time, most photographed, most drawn. And he said, Haiti needs time to grow. Oh yeah, giving y'all some history. Haiti needs time to grow, to cultivate, to breathe. Let her do that. And the United States said no. In fact, Frederick Douglass said, Haiti is Black, and we have not forgiven her for being Black. Okay. So let's go to the next slide. Now, when we talk about Haiti, yes, Haiti is between a rock and a revolution. Okay. We have to understand that there's different things that have added to destabilization, but there's one system that participated in it. Okay. So there's the idea of, not even the idea, the strategy of military intervention and occupation. Haiti's currently occupied now. Okay. So Haiti has faced 2 coups, has had 3 US-backed dictators, has had 4 military occupations by the United States, have had multiple death squads funded by the United States, have had 4 dodgy elections put on by the United States since 2006, and have 1 presidential assassination that also had connections to the United States. You add that with the wealth debt. The gross domestic product is about $20 billion, but yet there's a debt of $5 billion. So Haiti's producing that much, but it doesn't go back to the people. Okay. Again, we have to talk about the Obama administration. I mean, President Obama before Trump deported the most people in contemporary presidential administrations. Okay. After 2010 earthquake, massive 8.5 earthquake on the Richter scale, $13 billion in funds were raised for Haiti, but failed to reach its people. We have to also study, not here, but what the Bush and Clinton, what that duo did to destabilize Haiti, but destabilize our streets as well. Okay? We have to talk about that. Sometimes, you know, we say to vote, and that's important, but we also have to know that different people have different interests. Okay? Oh, it didn't go to Haitians. It went to their puppet regimes and themselves. We want to also talk about military intervention, occupation, debt, and Jemima spoke about this as well. When the occupation, the first occupation that happened within the United States in 1915 to 1934, what we also have to understand is that they took over all of Haiti's finances. So imagine you have a bank account and somebody says, I'm taking it over now. I'll tell you when to withdraw. I'll tell you when to deposit. I'll actually use your funds for whatever I want. H&M makes their clothes in Haiti. Tennis balls, like actual tennis balls, Venus and Serena, are made in Haiti. And yet laborers are, again, making $2 a day on average. Haiti has an 80% unemployment rate. And baseballs too, yeah. And something else too, they're importing more than they are exporting. Everything's going out and a lot is coming in. Yes, let's not talk about White Cliff. And the average Haitian starts in debt. So if you're making $2 a day, but then the cost of living is $26, you're already at a bad advantage. UN occupations have destabilized Haiti, replacing elected democracy with puppet regimes. And Haitians have been demanding the same thing: food security, end of inflation, fuel for their nation, and self-determination within their government. Haitians died just to vote for their own president, just to see them ousted. Very important to know that. Aristide is one of the biggest examples. I do want to say this as well before we go to the next slide, and we're almost done, y'all. When you say free Haiti, you have to say free Palestine. And the reason why I say that is this. Duvalier was funded by the US government to stop all mass movement in Haiti. Duvalier also received weapons from the Zionist nation of Israel to squash all political movements in Haiti. Okay? So when we talk about Haiti as an internationalist nation, we're also talking about that while we're fighting for internationalist struggles here, Haitians have also been part of that. Okay. Next slide. Okay. Mia, can you read this quote for us?
Sure can. So Springfield, Ohio has become a flashpoint due to xenophobic and racist remark made by former President Donald Trump during a recent presidential debate, where he falsely claimed that Haitian immigrants in the city were taking people's pets and eating them. The Haitian immigrant community in the region has grown significantly, with thousands settling there, many through the Temporary Protected Status Program. Despite most Haitians residing in the United States legally, the community has faced safety concerns, including anonymous bomb threats leading to the shutdown of schools, hospitals, and the municipal center. Use of fear-mongering against Haitian immigrants is not unique to the Republicans or Democrats. It is part of a long legacy of racism and xenophobia towards the Haitian people. The Western media has historically played a role in perpetuating racist stereotypes about Haitians, dating back to Haiti's independence in 1804. This is a quote from Liberation News.
Can we go to the next slide? This is a question to folks again. We just heard me read this like snapshot.
Absolutely. Drop your answers down in the chat. But what is the pattern we're seeing in how the United States talks about Haitians and other immigrant workers? How does this sentiment trickle down to TPS holders?
Mm-hmm. What are we hearing? What does the media say to us? We know the media is a fourth branch of government. We know how progressive media is constantly being attacked, and that's not what we're hearing. Yes, people are being painted as criminals, dehumanization. What else are we seeing? Racism. Mm-hmm. Yes. And this is, again, not abnormal for what we've seen. This has been a long saga of slander and propaganda against Haiti, but also all immigrants, right, are being looked at as criminals, are being looked at as stealing our resources. But we know the truth is that the workers produce the wealth and are not giving and are not being given the resources that they produce. Okay? It's very important to note that this is a campaign that we saw very overtly in the 90s when Haitians by the CDC were accused of being primary, and excuse my language, y'all, primary givers of HIV/AIDS, which through mass struggle led to the CDC apologizing and removing that from record. We've also seen this with Trump. I mean, Trump has just been on a tangent for many, many years, y'all. But we saw this in 2018 when Trump said that Haiti is a shithole nation. Do folks remember this? And then now we're seeing it again when he is now saying that Haitians, workers, our comrades, our neighbors are eating pets. And all of this to turn popular opinion against Haitians, but against all immigrants. Next slide, please. Now, after hearing all this, the real question is, what is there to be done? Let's go to the next slide. One, we have to prepare and we have to support. This is very important. We have been talking about internationalism, solidarity, but solidarity is a verb. That means we got to put action to it. Got to feel it, got to move it, got to do it. Our Haitian neighbors are currently preparing for major ICE surges. How many people here, just raise your hand, have seen ICE, especially where there's communities where there's Haitian hubs, up and down our streets? Okay? So while this is happening, not only should we be encouraging the best legal options for our community, we have to make sure that we also, as organizers, as community members, the WhatsApp, listen. The WhatsApp is giving a lot of misinformation. Okay? So we want to make sure that we have accurate information about what's currently happening with TPS, what folks' legal rights are, okay? And what they can do to support. Can you plan a legal clinic, right? Can you plan, if you're an artist, can you make a zine that has proper information? And we have some information to share. We also have to organize. There are some groups that are telling Haitians to keep their heads down, right? And that's what they've been telling immigrants, asylum seekers, in general. Keep your head down, don't organize. But this is actually the time for us to say, we got to boost ICE Watch. We got to enhance court support. We got to organize speakouts. We have to stage protests. We have to conduct both TPS and ICE Know Your Rights sessions. Okay? And also plug in with groups that are doing this work, whether it be PSL, whether it be Haitian organizations on the ground, whether it be organizations that aren't Haitian but are doing this work. I think it's very important for us to not give up and to give information to our people and stand with our people. Haitians are our people. And they always stood with us, so we have to stand with them. I want to tell y'all, there's a George Floyd mural in Haiti. I want to tell y'all, there's a Palestinian mural in Haiti. Okay? As we speak. They have been watching us organize and build, and so we have to provide that support back. But with accurate information and consistent movement building. We have to keep going. Okay? We can't stop. There have been people who have been breaking up ICE arrests just because they knew what their rights were and what the rights were for their neighbors in their buildings, in their homes, on their street. Okay? Let's go to the next slide. Now, there's another legal aspect that's coming in that people are pushing. So this is Senate Bill S-4814. And what this is pushing is at least 3 more years of TPS extension. This is a bipartisan bill. So a lot of different groups and organizers are calling for people to call their senators, to call their governors, to call their local electeds, and to push for there to be a 67 no veto vote. What this means is that they want to get a majority plus to make sure that this bill is not vetoable by the Trump administration. I do want to uplift that as of right now, support for this bill is in its 20s. I want to repeat again, support for this bill is in its 20s. It is not there yet. And so the pressure has to be on. Next slide, please. Now, I kind of spoke about this in 20 votes. So instead of 67 individual votes, right now it's about 27 as yes votes in support of this bill. Sorry for that. Something else that's happening on the ground in terms of information, this is why we need to be giving accurate information out to our communities, is that our Haitian neighbors are actually being scammed at this moment. Okay, I want to repeat, our Haitian neighbors are being scammed at this moment. So there are fake attorneys or paralegals or people who don't even have any excuse me, any legal right to be practicing any type of immigration law at all, who are sitting down with Haitian former TPS holders who are scared, who don't know what to do, who are desperate for some type of solution, and are saying, I can help you, give me 20,000. I can help you, give me 30,000. And in fact, giving people the wrong information. In fact, telling people to self-deport, which we actually are not telling people, right? There are other options for Haitian folks. And again, I wanted to make sure that we didn't made some times for some questions to be answered, make sure that there was some time for all this information. So all of that, all of what I'm going to say here is not here. But an example of this is it it makes you a little it makes you a little emotional to think about this. But examples of this, folks aren't being spoken to about T visas, U visas, DAWA, DACA, Dreamer, none of that. None of those things are being uplifted as options. A lot of folks are being misguided in terms of seeking asylum, but that does not work because of the current situation of folks who are there. If folks have been here since 1990, what asylum are they seeking? Okay. So people are, again, receiving poor information, again, are being given overpriced legal support. They're being given fraudulent documents. And something else that we have seen, and this struggle is a housing struggle as well. Landlords are having their friends and family members dress up as ICE agents and meeting people at their homes to scare them out of their homes. Landlords are saying, I know about your status. Give me $3,000 more and I won't report you to immigration. Okay. Now I put here report abuse. This is just the legal framing I wanted to give y'all. But again, we have to keep our ear to the ground. We're not just monitoring what ICE is doing. We have to monitor what all the slumlords, the police, false information. We got to report and record and activate against all of those things. The same landlord that is harassing you is the same landlord that is harassing our Haitian neighbors. Okay. So we have to pay attention. Exactly. All part of a system that's made to boost fear, violence, and harm. Okay. And it's what people are facing on the ground as we speak. Next slide. Now, this is a QR code for some information just about TPS. It touches on, it does have New York City things, but I wanted to share this because it actually does have a lot of information and a lot of links to different resources. We're going to actually drop a link, and I know Lalo is going to do this soon in a little bit. We're going to actually drop a link with a lot of information, resources in several languages about the ICE House struggle as we speak. But I just wanted to make sure that there was like information flowing. We can go to the next slide. And again, I'm part of Caribbean Defense. This is the QR code if folks want to follow our Instagram and see what's going on. I've also been supplying information, doing translation work for comrades all over the country. Something that I realized was a big issue when Caribbean Defense started was the fact that there was no language for our neighbors to tap into. None of our information, even though it was well written, it had the accurate information on it, our community members didn't understand it. So if that's something that you need support with, let us know. If you want to do more webinars like this, if you want to connect about what's going on the ground in your city, if you want the PSL Action Network to do more programming like this, please let us know. Let the PSL Action Network know. Haitians have always been on the side of all oppressed people. Haitians have always stood in every struggle. And because of that, Haitians are being targeted. Whether you're Haitian or not, if you say free Haiti, you have to say justice for queer people. If you say justice for queer people, you have to say justice for trans people. You have to say justice for all women. You have to say justice for all non-binary folks. You have to say justice for all brown folks. You have to say justice for every oppressed nation in the world. If you say free Haiti, you have to free Palestine, Puerto Rico, and Cuba. And you have to say free every block from block to block. And that is the radical history of Haiti. That is the radical tradition of Haiti. That was the vision that Dessalines laid down. And that is the work that Haitians are carrying on the ground. And that is the type of support that Haitians need now when state violence is riddling our communities. And we know what that's like. People here have fought against police violence. People here have fought for verdicts that benefit our people. People here have fought for policy work. And people here have fought for your life. But we can't just fight for one individual life. We have to fight for all of ours. And it's time to make sure that Haiti is part of the conversation. Let's not forget our comrades who never forgot us. And I will yield there. Thank you for having me. Don't log off. There's some announcements.
Yeah, I think we still have a couple of minutes. Kirby, I want to say thank you so much. I learned a lot. I hope that everybody else learned as much as I did. We do have a little bit of time to take a few questions. So if you're able, someone asked, will ICE be targeting Haitian communities in Brooklyn? And how do we prepare if and when ICE were to descend on our communities?
ICE is already targeting Haitian communities in Brooklyn. We actually seen an increase in all hubs. So from Queens, well, we saw in Queens for sure, Freeport, but we're seeing ICE agents in Newkirk. We're seeing them outside of train stations. And the work right now is to get as many folks trained in ICE Watch as possible. We need to also bring back some of the things that we already started in this struggle. Shout out to Chicago for folks who are Chicago who are still here. We need to go back to court accompaniment. We need to go back to ICE Watch trainings. We need to part of the ICE Watch trainings being TPS work. We need to also keep having meetings and discussions about this and keep speaking to Haitians on the ground. Something else that I wanted to uplift is that for folks who are doing legal work, we also need to have more legal clinics. We're seeing this scam really play out when it comes to legal support. And for folks who know Creole, so for Haitians who are first gen, second gen, something that you can help us do, whether it be court accompaniment, whether it be during legal clinics, whether it be during actions, is help folks with translation. We're seeing folks get jammed up simply because they don't understand everything that's being said to them.
Thank you so much, Kirby. Well, thank you all for asking questions. We wish we could get to them all, but unfortunately we are at about time. But if you liked what you heard, please speak with your friends, your family, your coworkers about what you learned about TPS and about Haiti's history. We need to popularize a working class agenda in the face of spinelessness and in the face of vitriol. We need to present real solutions, socialist solutions to the problems our people face. A program that puts people over profits is not only possible, but there are organizations that everyone can join to fight for it. Everyone can contribute to this fight back right away, and the way to do that is to join the PSL Action Network. The PSL Action Network is a way for everyone to get involved in the activity of building the socialist movement. The PSL Action Network members will receive monthly invitations to monthly webinars just like this one. You'll learn all the political updates and have calls to actions to local events, stuff like that. Your donation of any amount will help us cover the cost of producing and sending materials and to build out this socialist movement in every town and in every city. So we encourage you to not only join the PSL Action Network, but also invite your friends and your family and your coworkers and your neighbors to do the same. We need everybody in this fight against the extreme right and against these tiny group of elite billionaires. The more we get educated, the more we can get organized, the more we can start fighting back. So we want to give everybody a couple of minutes to sign up now. The tech is also going to help us drop a couple of links. Thank you so much, Lalo. You're going to see the pslweb.org/action link. You're also going to see our new Socialist History podcast where you can learn more about the things that we're talking about. And you're also going to see a link that helps you learn to apply for the PSL. You can also follow us on our socials. There's also books, articles, anything. And thanks to Kirby, we have a giant folder of all kinds of Know Your Rights information, materials, stuff like that. So please share it with your friends, your family, your coworkers, community members, anybody that'll listen to you, share it with them. For working people to fight back against the Trump administration's racist attacks on our communities, it's going to take a movement where everybody knows what their rights are and what actions they can take to enforce them. It's going to take us getting educated, getting organized, and getting real familiar with each other. So thank you all for joining our webinar today. We hope to see you in the streets and in the struggle moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And pay attention to actions and support.